The Public Servants Association says plans are underway for a nationwide strike. Unions in the public sector rejecting the 3% wage increase offered by government. They're demanding a wage hike of 6.5% for its members, but government says there is no money to meet this request. Let's get you the latest on the story now. We're joined by the Public Service Association's spokesperson, Claude Naicker. He joins us via our video link this morning. I think that's the important takeaway this morning, isn't it, Claude, that government has said it is not budging on this 3% offer that is on the table. So what happens now?
Very good morning to you. Yes, we have served notice. We have reached an impasse as far as the salary negotiations are concerned. There's an absolute deadlock. We have no option but to embark on industrial action. We have served government with the notice on Monday the 24th. Once the 7 days notice have expired, we'll start with our program of action in all our provinces. This will entail starting with the picket process from the 2nd and the 3rd of November, leading up to a march on the 10th of November, and then obviously to a full-blown strike. We will assess our plan on a daily basis, and if there's no revised offer from government or any move from government to try and settle the dispute, then we will have to continue with our strike action.
So, Claude, government has said that it's not budging on this 3%. The finance minister himself in the midterm budget saying that he believes that the offer on the table is more than enough given the current economic climate. Is it unreasonable for the public sector to continue to demand the 6.5% given all of these issues?
When we started off our negotiations, you will recall our demand was 10%. We found ourselves where the government had offered 0%, then upped it to 1.5% and then 2%. We decided to revise our demand and we made it at 6.5%. If you notice that 6.5% is still way below the inflation rate, so I don't think our demand at this stage is unreasonable. If you look at government's offer on the table, it's only 3%. One tends to forget easily that in 2020, public servants did not get their salary increase. And then the following year, which was 2021, we had to settle for cash gratuity. Now, that was sort of a stopgap measure or compromise that we had made, because had we not signed the salary agreement for them to get that cash allowance, public servants would have been out of pocket for another year for 2021. So this year, what is on the table is a 3% plus the cash gratuity. But what is contained in the draft agreement is that cash gratuity comes to an end on 31st of March 2023. Now, if we do not reach an agreement for next year's salary agreement, or if the offer on the table is nothing good that we can take back to our members, and if the cash gratuity does stop, then you will find yourself where public servants are worse off because they without this cash gratuity. I think the hurdle currently is the cash gratuity. We're asking from government that there must be some protection that the cash gratuity continue beyond 31st of March so that members are not out of pocket.
I mean, is it fair to say, Claude, that part of the negotiations, the public sector have said they actually don't want a multi-year agreement? That is why you've got the 6.5% on the table.
Well, if you notice in 2018 we signed the 3-year agreement. That entailed that you will get paid your salary increase for 2018, 2019 and 2020. Now government reneged in 2020 and did not pay employees their salary increase. Now, how would one expect public servants now to go into the negotiating arena and sign a multi-term agreement again? There's no guarantee from government that we're going to get our salary increases in the second or third year, or even in the first year. So the safest bet was to obviously agree or to negotiate on a single term, in other words, on a year-to-year basis. I think that is safe enough. I think that will ensure members get a salary increase if we do sign an agreement. Signing a multi-term agreement at this stage is not conducive. We don't trust the employer to sign a multi-term agreement.
Right, so there is that trust deficit insofar as an agreement is concerned. Claude, given the economic climate in the country, the fact that we are battling on so many fronts, insofar as our unemployment rate is concerned, the pressure on the fiscus, and so on and so on, is this the right time? I mean, is the public service taking into consideration the impact a strike like this will have on the country?
Well, one must understand that there's no time is a conducive time to strike, whether the economy is good or bad. I think strike action is the last resort for any organization. However, if you take into account ESCOM, they received in the region of 7%, Transnet the other day in the region of 6.5%. Some of the parastatals which are funded by government have received increases far beyond 3%. So why not public service? We always seem to be the scapegoats when it comes to the fiscus and saying that public servants are paid too high salaries, therefore we cannot afford it. I think 3% on the table, and where we are 6.5%, if government can move a little bit on that, I think we could take that back to our members, and I'm sure members would be realistic and say, listen, this is what's on the table, and we can maybe perhaps settle on it. But 3%, I think, at this stage, with the cash gratuity coming to an end in 31st March, is definitely not conducive. They are looking around and saying, listen, ministers don't pay for electricity and other utilities. Yet public servants, with the 3% increase that they're going to be proposing, are they able to afford that? We just heard from midnight tonight that petrol price is going to go up by another 51 cents and 140 for diesel. Public servants travel to work. How are they going to make ends meet in order for them to get to work itself? While ministers that are having free utility bills, and then parliamentary officers were granted a 3%, not only with effect from this year, but backdated to last year. So that's quite a considerable increase, and yet public servants are made to believe that 3% is good enough.
No, absolutely. I mean, as we round off our interview, Claude, just give us a sense again, because you've now said, if government can move from that 3%, that there is room to negotiate. What are the timelines here insofar as the strike action is concerned?
Well, we'll be assessing it on a day-to-day basis. As I said, that our program starts with the picketing. In all provinces, they have a separate program. Then we will head off to a march commencing on the 10th of March and then leading up to a full-blown strike action. As I said, we will assess it on a day-to-day basis. And if there is sufficient support, then we will continue with the strike action. As I said, it's difficult to ascertain that from now before we commence with the strike action, but we will be assessing our program on a day-to-day basis.
All right. Claude Naicker, thanks very much indeed for coming on, the spokesperson for the Public Servants Association, who says plans are now underway for a nationwide strike. Public sector unions rejecting that 3% wage offer that's on the table from government. They're demanding a wage hike of 6.5%. Plenty more still ahead for you.